evening, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside, because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. What's happening, paranormal junkies? Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, and I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and we are broadcasting live from the E-United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 in New Orleans. Guys, we got a fantastic show for you this evening, but first, I want to talk about a book that just came out that's kind of hit the UFO world by a storm. Actually, we've all been kind of waiting on this guy to release his book, and it went on and on and on, and we were like, is this ever going to happen? Well, it looks like it has finally hit the fan, and I'm talking about Lou Elizondo's book, Imminent, and I have actually started this. I started listening to it. I'm in chapter 7. A lot of stuff, very interesting things in this book, guys. I will say you can head over to the experiencersupport.org, and I know Ryan Stacy has already listened to it, too. He's read it. He's kind of gave his reviews on it. I'm pretty sure he's posted a little article out there. You can check it out, experiencersupport.org. I haven't finished it yet, but when I do, I'll definitely be talking about it on this show. Speaking of which, I'm going to make an announcement right now, and I'll make another announcement before we get out of here. This is the last time that we will be at 6 p.m. Eastern. Starting next Tuesday, we will be streaming live at 7 p.m. Eastern. Yes, so a little hour later. So if you have a hard time catching this 6 o'clock show, well, I got good news. We'll be airing at 7 p.m. Eastern starting next week. All right. Today's guest, happens to be a good friend of mine, somebody I've known for years. And I actually heard a little while back ago about their UFO experience. One thing I really like about today's guest is this isn't somebody who is really engulfed in the paranormal community or the UFO world. He's just a regular everyday dude who had an experience when he was a kid. And I thought this would be very interesting to bring him on the show. Not only that, though, he's also a very talented actor, so you may have seen him in some films. But I tell you what, if you guys would, let's give a warm welcome for actor and UFO experiencer, Les Murphy.
Hey.
What's happening, man?
Not a whole lot. How are you?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. Okay, do me a favor. I know plenty about you, but our viewers and listeners may not know a little bit. So if you don't mind, just give a quick little introduction of yourself before we really get started.
Hey, I'm Les Murphy. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm an actor, somewhat of a director. I directed a film that won an award in London, of all places. And it's the only award I've ever won, but I'm real proud of that and everybody involved with it. And I've been acting for about maybe 10 years professionally, I suppose, and that's including films and TV, what have you.
So he's a very talented actor, Like I said, I've known you for years. And I remember, before I even started doing this podcast, I think we were having a conversation about UFOs, and you had told me about your experience, and it was kind of crazy because as long as I've known you, you'd never told me anything about this. Now, but before you even tell the story, were you kind of embarrassed or what?
Yeah, I had actually stopped telling people about it because of the way they made me feel about it. It was like this thing happened to me and people feel very strongly about it, even though they weren't there, they didn't see it, they didn't have anything to do with it, but they want to tell me what it is they think I saw. And it's like, no,
See,
no,
that's crazy because
don't diminish what my experience was, just because you can't explain it logically.
and I've and see a lot of people do that, and doing this show just for the short time that I've done it, that's whenever people ask me. I have people ask me, it's like, so what do you really think? Do you think, and I'm like, that's their experience. I can't say anything against their experience. Now there's times that I have had, maybe this happened, maybe this happened, maybe this happened, but I don't know. Who am I to question it? And like I said, so many people have had similar experiences that there has to be something to it. I see we already got some people over in the group chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions for Les as we're talking, we'll get them on the screen and he will answer them to the best of his ability. Well, I tell you what, let's do this. Let's start out. We're going to come right out with your UFO experience. It was this was in the early 90s. Am I right?
1994. So next month or maybe October, it will be 30 years.
Jesus, I'm so depressed. Thank you.
Right.
94 was 30 years ago, folks. Yes. And I remember 94. If I could go back in time, I would go back to 1994. I'm pretty sure that's the year I would go back to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hear it, man. 1994.
Okay, so my friend had moved to Clinton, lived off Clinton Highway, and this had to have been sometime in September or October. I just remember it was the fall.
Now, here, I do want to clarify this real quick, folks, because a lot of people don't know what the hell Clinton Highway is. That is we're all over the world, brother. We got people in England, Canada, everywhere. Clinton Highway is a major highway system here in Tennessee. It's a major highway road.
And it's Knoxville.
Knoxville, Tennessee, yes.
In Knoxville. So he lived right off of Clinton Highway, which is, a major highway here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So we were in the backyard playing, and I believe we were actually playing hide and seek. I was 14 years old. My best friend was 13, and I think his brother might have been 10, something like that. So they were hiding, and then I came out and was looking for them, and then I heard something. And it was like this weird kind of like humming, like really loud. And I was like, what in the world is that? So they actually came out of hiding. My best friend was actually on the roof. He was that's just the kind of person he was. He would always hide somewhere where, you wouldn't even think of. So as we started coming out, we saw this black triangle floating right above the street. And he was on the roof and he got the best look at it. So he jumped down and we followed it. And it was a triangle. And on the end of the triangle, there was a light on each end. So it had 3 lights. And it was just flying really low and was making like this kind of whir, 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 whir kind of sound. And it had like this weird, almost like kind of squealing, like somebody was attempting to use a PA or something, but it wasn't working. It just made this really weird sound, like almost like, I don't know if it was trying to communicate with us or if that's just the sound it happens to make or what. So we just continued to follow it down the street. So there was 3 of us. Again, myself, my best friend, and his brother. So then other people started to come out because they heard it too. So by the time it was like all said and done, there was about 10 people walking down the road after this thing. We weren't the only ones that saw it. There was, like I said, 7 other people that had the same experience. And we followed it for a couple of blocks as far as we could go until we just couldn't follow it anymore because where it came into like a wooded area. And then like there was like a fenced in area, like where one of the stores were there on Clinton Highway. And we were all just like, you saw that, right? Like, what do you think that was? And we were all just like, I have to believe it was a UFO. It was an unidentified flying object. Or is it a UAP now?
Well, actually, they like to say UAP. We still say UFOs. But they changed the terminology because now they're not just flying; they also go underwater. I believe what is the correct term? It's UAP, but they changed the A for unidentified. The A stands for something that will cover both air and sea. The story that I've heard also multiple times when people do see UFOs is that humming noise. That's a very common sound. Sometimes if they do make a noise, they have heard the humming sound, come from this thing. And then also it was triangle, correct?
Yeah, it was the black triangle with the lights on the end of it.
See, and that's
low.
Common.
We could have hit it with a rock. It was flying so that low.
Now, if you had to guess about how big would you? I mean,
I don't know. It was really big, is all I can say. I mean, like maybe the size of like a jet, something.
Wow.
Like, it was really big, because that was another thing that we noticed is like when it was passing, the shadow. So you had the noise, and then it started like getting kind of dark because of where it was like eclipsing the sun there. So it was like, okay, well, what's this? And then anytime I would tell people about it, like that was a weather balloon. No, that's not a weather balloon. Okay, and again, that was one of those things where people would try to tell me what it was that they think I saw. It's like, I think I know what a weather balloon looks like, or a plane, or like I've never seen anything like that except for like on other UFO videos and in books. Because after I saw it, I started trying to research it. And the closest thing I could find was the Time Life book series, the
yeah,
that one, and it's in there. And I'm like, yeah, that's
we got our first question. We got our first question right here from Liv Light. Liv is a she awesome viewer, listener here on the show, and she has some of the best questions ever. Liv wants to know, she said, how long did you watch the UFO? Did you see any unusual markings on it?
I didn't see any unusual markings because it was so black underneath it and on top of it. Like the only thing you could really make out distinctively were the lights, and it was obvious that those were lights. It was probably about close to 10 minutes because we walked all the way down a couple of blocks. It felt like forever just because where it was going so slow. We were kind of just walking very slowly, like trying to take it all in. If this had happened today, all those other people would have had their phones out, myself included.
Yeah.
Like all these videos of it, and we could have got some really great footage.
Liv, another question from Liv. She wants to know, was there any temperature changes that you remember?
I can't recall any. Like I said, it was the fall, and we were like wearing hoodies and flannel shirts and stuff, so it was already kind of chilly. But I mean, with the walking, we got warmer from just doing that. But I don't recall any.
David Martin, how you doing, David? Great to see you. David wants to know, how long was a UFO? Now, you did compare it to a jet, so yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was flying really low. Like airplanes and stuff don't fly that low. I've heard they're restricted because of they could hit power lines, stuff like that. So it was probably just above.
And something else I'd like to clarify for the viewers and the listeners about this story that is very interesting. Something that you guys do not know. We're less the part of Tennessee where Les saw this at is located very closely to a town in Tennessee called Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which actually played a major part in the Manhattan Project in World War II with help developing the bomb in World War II. And we have top secret plants in this area, which once again goes back to, to where UFOs are seen a lot in military bases and, any type of nuclear facilities, stuff like this. So something that's very interesting about this story also, in the time period, in the early 90s, Oak Ridge was in this area. Not just anybody could fly over this town or this area, in this area. The things were kind of changing, in the early 90s. So it's almost mind-boggling that this didn't make news, or we didn't hear more about this, unidentified object flying around the area. We do got another question here. Live Light with another one. With the current info, do you think the triangular UAP might have been a TR3, maybe belonging to the military?
I don't, just because I've seen pictures of those, and this was bigger, and it was more of the triangle shape, where the TR3s look more compact. Like this was an actual, the long triangle, where those are like kind of smaller. Like I've looked into it, and it's close, but I mean it's quite a bit smaller than what it was that I saw.
And that's also a great question. I want to add that, because I mean, we do. This is a safe place to come share your story 100%. But you should always be critical at first. You should always say, well, it might be this, or it could be this. Like my experience, I had a UFO experience probably about 6 months ago. And it's the first time I ever saw anything, but I saw actually a cylinder shape, flying in the sky. And I was like, what is that? And then I've tried to piece and put things together, and like, no, that doesn't add up. So right now, my conclusion is that it had to be a UFO or UAP, something that I, don't recognize. David Martin's got a question. Any run-ins with the Men in Black? Interesting. And this is a good one.
We actually were afraid of that for a long time. Like for years, I was waiting on somebody to come knock at my door and talk to me about what it is that I thought I saw, but I didn't. Like I said, I had stopped telling people just because of that. And I think the Men in Black movie came out like the year after that. So, I mean, that was kind of a fear of mine, that one day somebody would just knock and then I would forget it, completely, or they would take me away or something. And always the fear that, like, well, what if they come back and this time they take me? Because where we were following them, there was the idea of like, well, what if they, hit us with a tractor beam and, nobody sees us again, let's not get too close,
Absolutely. Well, the thing about that, because when you see something like that you've always been told wasn't real, that is make believe, and then and I know this as a child too, has seen, I saw a ghost, and then whenever you actually see something, your whole reality is kind of shattered, and people who you've loved and trusted, who have told you that these things aren't real, you're like, wait a minute, then what in the world did I just see? If these things are not real.
That it happened like still in daylight. It wasn't nighttime just yet. It was still, the sun was just now starting to set. So they were still, the sunlight and stuff. It wasn't like pitch black. That was another thing that,
And what's interesting about that is, a lot of these sightings, they don't. It's almost like they don't care. We don't care if you see us. It's broad daylight. I mean, you're nothing. We don't care.
I'm gonna believe you. Like maybe one out of whatever.
Let's see. Liv's got a question. How did the UAP experience affect your life? Do you discuss the encounter with those friends who were with you? Great question. And I know a little bit about this.
I had stopped talking about it just because of people would like almost get like angry about it, because I guess it made them question their beliefs, and like I'm lying about it or whatever. But my friend, who was my best friend, who saw it, died back in 2005, but his brother still remembers it. And I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago that my son had been waiting his whole life to ask him about it, and he still remembers it.
Wow. And what
things that, I don't think he felt safe talking about it either, but he felt safe around us to do it, and he told the same story.
I mean, and that's, and it's still also a great thing that you have people who saw it with you, because a lot of times, especially when you're a child and you have an experience like this, you begin to question your own sanity. Was I hallucinating? What's going on? But other eyes saw it, which also helps validate your experience.
That was really helped, I think, was the fact that, the other neighbors that had saw it that were there, like I guess the three of us, they could have said, oh, y'all were hallucinating, you were on drugs, whatever. But then there was those other people that saw it too. You know, I had been older. That way I could have like made contact with those people, got their numbers, what have you. But these were strangers. I didn't know them. I was 14 years old. It's like, you saw that, right? Okay, we'll see you later. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna
It's
keep.
1994. We got to go listen to some good music and smoke some mediocre weed.
Yeah, it's not. We're not exchanging.
I tell you what, we got a question from Jillian Leonard. Thank you so much, Jillian, for your question and watching the show this evening. We've got when you had sightings, did you notice any auditory differences?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know, maybe any hard of hearing, or did you notice anything different? You said it was like a whoop, 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 you know.
That kind of low hum like that, and then like I said, there was the PA thing. To me, I'm guessing it was a PA. That's what it sounded like to me. Like, you ever heard like where somebody gets on the PA and it's
Yeah.
but it's all kind of like muffled and squawky. Like that was the only thing that I heard was that.
Which is so weird because we've heard people who've had this experience and they have heard a low hum noise with some of these UFOs. But yeah, like Jillian says, like sudden silence. Let me see, where did you go? Sudden silence or amplified hearing. Oh, so
amplified. The silence was just us, like kind of in shock. Walking like we were kind of like, you seeing this, right? Yeah, this is really happening, right? Like we're quiet just because we didn't know, if we made too much noise or something. Like I said, would they take us? Would it,
yeah.
The
The scary thing about that. Now, I'm sure did you have any dreams, nightmares about this afterwards?
Yeah, there were dreams. I don't know if I'd call them nightmares, anything like that, just because, like I said, it wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't like this thing that, like shattered my beliefs and everything like that. It was just this thing that I saw that I can't really explain. Like, I think I know what it is, but everybody else doesn't want to believe that. But I have no choice but to believe it because I saw it and my friends saw it.
The thing that's interesting though is the timeline that it happened. It didn't happen now. It wasn't something fad or something. This was a time when a lot of people still wasn't really talking about. I mean, you had to be really in this world to even know about the triangle shaped UFOs. Of course, there was a Phoenix Lights incident. It's probably the most famous triangle UFO. I think there's a big one in Texas, but no one really talked about it. We didn't even learn about these things till much later on.
Everybody assumes it was a saucer. Like, they're just going to go ahead and cut me off. Like, oh, it was a saucer. No, it wasn't a saucer. If you'll shut up, I'll tell you.
So, and I mean, I always tell people, if you're going to lie, you're going to make up a better story than that.
Yeah, it's like, why would I lie? Like,
yeah. Liv's got another question. She said, "Do you believe in UFOs, aliens, and other dimensions prior to the sighting? Did you believe in these things beforehand?"
I believe I did. I used to watch like Unsolved Mysteries and things like that, and I think I had saw Fire in the Sky like a year or two before that. And
gosh, yeah.
Honestly, the one movie that probably scared me the most, like as I got older, just because if that's real and that really happened, then that's terrifying. So I think I always had.
Well, the interesting thing about that, I watched the movie too, as when I was a kid, and it is terrifying. It's a terrifying watch. Communion, I think it was Communion. Was it that was another terrifying one? I watched both those, and I don't know. I think it was easy for me to not believe in UFOs and aliens because it made me feel better. And even after I had my spirit ghost experience, I was 12 years old, when I had that, even after then, I didn't associate and connect that with UFO or aliens. I just thought, that's all make believe. It's not real. But what's interesting is you'll be surprised what you'll see when you just look up.
Yeah, I mean, how that we look up, especially now that we're so distracted.
and that's what happened. That was with my situation. I was just driving down the road and I just happened to look up and I saw something flying in broad daylight. And the uncanny thing about these things, and tell me if this is with you, is the nonchalantness of it in a way. Like it doesn't care who sees it. It's not trying to hide from you.
Well, I mean, the area that we were at, it was like a really busy area. Clinton Highway has all these stores and stuff. So like you make that ride off there onto the neighborhood, that subdivision. So it's like those people on the Clinton Highway and everything had to have seen it too. It was flying that low that, that's a pretty heavily populated area. It's not just out in the middle of the woods somewhere.
I just, I'm almost tempted because, Ryan does a lot of investigating. Like, the very first time I had Ryan, I used to have an old podcast called The Abracadam. And that's where I met Ryan. I had Ryan come on, Ryan Stacy. And Ryan actually brought me a UFO report sighting in Oak Ridge back in the 1950s in my hometown. I wasn't even aware of. And it would be interesting to see if maybe we can't dig up some info. Maybe there may have been some people may have reported this. Let's get one last question here before we cut to our commercial break coming up here. Once again, live light with the good questions. Is that area known for sightings? Yeah, well, not Clinton. I wouldn't say the Clinton Highway area.
I know. I mean, that would have to be, but I'm not in that loop. I don't know. But I haven't met anybody else that saw anything like that there.
Well, like I said, I think maybe I throw this at Ryan and we'll toss this on Ryan's plate and see if maybe he can't dig up something good on it because he like I said, when I first met Ryan, he came to me with some stuff from back in the 50s in my hometown of a UFO sighting that I'd never heard anything about. I bet somebody probably did report this somewhere because, in that area, guys, it is a very populated area. It's crazy that something wasn't said, and this being, just out in the middle of the day and, flying as low as it was.
And weren't like ones to really go outside a whole lot once it got to be fall and stuff. So, I mean, if we had stayed in that day, we would have never saw it, I would be skeptical too, like whatever, but I was there and I saw it.
Well, definitely, like I said, then the thing I love this is, it's just, it makes you wonder like how many people walk around every day that have seen something, and they write it off or they just because they don't know what it is and then they never think about it again or they put it back in the area or, I don't know if you've ever maybe thought about looking into maybe going to a hypnotist to maybe find out some other information that you may not be aware of. I don't even know if that stuff works, but it did work I know it has helped certain people to kind of, redigest some memories that they may have not have. But I do want to do this. Les, I want to talk a little bit more. I want to talk some more UFO, aliens, all that good stuff. Guys, thank you so much with your questions. Come back with some more questions for Les. We'll be right back after these messages. Going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, and we'll be right back here with actor and UFO experiencer Les Murphy.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Business. It's your property.
Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services.
Go to blacklightiss.com.
All right, guys, welcome back to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. If you're just now tuning in, we've been talking to actor and UFO experiencer Les Murphy. I tell you what, one thing I do want to talk about, Les, now, over the years, you've had time to process this, put the pieces together. You know what you saw. You said you kind of believed in UFO and aliens beforehand, but now, and you'd had to be living under the rock if you haven't heard what's going on in the news here. Like we've had David Grush, a whistleblower, testify in front of Congress about the UAPs. You know, he's a very controversial guy, but Bob Lazar was the guy that kind of broke the mold on this with his story on some podcasts, very popular podcasts. And now just recently we have Lou Elizondo, who you may not be familiar with, but he's a, I guess now kind of a whistleblower as well. And he just released a book called Imminent, where he breaks down all of his experiences investigating, working for the government for this whole secret program. There's apparently a reverse engineering program going with these UFOs that, you know, where they've recovered crashed spaceships from, what do they like to call it? Non-human intelligence is the word they like to use. Okay. So in case you're not in the world, you know, that's our jargon is what now it's a non-human intelligence, which whatever the heck that means. But anyways, all that said, what I mean, have you picked up on any of this, saw any of this kind of in the news?
Yeah, I think we were talking about it last year when they were having the congressional hearings and stuff. Like, are you watching this? Are you seeing this? And like,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it is they have to like raise the curtain a little bit at a time, just so there's just not mass hysteria. I believe they have to like, like they're doing it just a little bit here, a little bit there, and then like you said, they're throwing in a lot of stuff that's like just BS. You know, that way people are like, maybe they don't believe it wholeheartedly. Like, well, this is true and this is true, but that's kind of crazy.
Yes.
So I
You
think
know,
that's what they're doing. Like, but I mean, for me myself, it makes me happy to see that hey, I'm not crazy. There's something to this.
absolutely. You know what, Chris, we got a great question right over here from David. Pop it up here. Yeah, there we go. And I didn't even think to ask you about this, but this is something very common. Any great question for David Martin? Any missing time? A lot of people report like
Yeah.
they go back and there's some missing time there. Anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
So it was just a straight sighting. You didn't have any, that you're aware of at least.
That I'm aware of. Yeah, just nothing. Like it was like maybe all of 10 minutes, something like that.
Wow, that is nuts. When you look at kind of like what's going on right now, and that's the good thing is that there's probably so many people that have had experiences and sightings that they've written off as they've hallucinating or something's wrong. And now that this stuff is in the news now it's being reported. It's, we are probably one of the very few things about everybody walking around that has a camera with them 24/7 is that now, these things, can't hide or go unnoticed like they used to.
Well, sure back then they would have said it was photoshopped or oh, you made that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even then, I mean, to be good at Photoshop in 1994, I guess, I mean, you had to be really good, I guess, to pull that off in 1994. Well, I mean, but at the same time, I think this is a crazy time. It's a crazy time and a really cool time that this is even being discussed about, that we have some very smart people, some very credible people who are saying these things are real and they are from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if congressional hearings about it, there must be something to it, like they don't just do that for anything, like.
No, they don't. And I mean, they're not gonna, just sit around. There's something to it. Of course, we know there's something to it. And I agree with you. I think we are experiencing disclosure. It's happening now. We're in the process of it. And I think they're pulling the Band-Aid off slowly. And what they do is actually they're pulling it off some and then putting a little bit back on, pulling it off a little more, putting it back on. It's a process actually that you can even trace back to the CIA using to reveal information to, the mass.
Yeah.
Another question here from Jillian Leonard. What has it been like to process your experiences? Does that happen over time, quickly? Have you noticed any patterns with it or interesting aspects to it?
I mean, I've had 30 years to think about it and process it. And I think actually having this format here to talk about it helps a lot. I mean, somebody that isn't, trying to tell me what it is they think I saw or whatever and actually wants to hear my side of it, that makes me feel really good. I guess I really don't know how to answer that because I think at times I'm still processing it. I'm okay with it. It hasn't messed me up or anything like that. But I mean, today I feel really good about it. And I've never like, oh, why did this happen to me? One of those. I'm actually really thankful that I got to see something like that where so many people haven't. And maybe that's why they don't believe it because they didn't experience it themselves, and I did. I have no choice but to accept that. Yeah, I saw that.
That's the one thing I love about, especially since doing this podcast, is because a lot of times you don't realize, like, we've got so many people that tune in, they'll view and watch the show every week, and they come in with good questions and stuff. But these are normal people, Liv, David, Jillian, these are regular folk. You know, it's just that they've experienced, they've had their experiences, they've got their windows open. They know, they just see things a little better than what your every little bumblebee or little worker bees do. Who, whenever if you bring the topic up to them, they kind of laugh and they make a joke about it and they think it's not real. But no, there's much more to this reality and to this world than what we realize. And yeah, you've kind of been, I mean, in a way, it's kind of a gift, you know, that you got to experience that.
Yeah, I consider lucky, you know.
Not everybody gets that, you know. And I mean, I was already starting to I was on the fence for the longest about UFOs and aliens and what's going on. And this was before this stuff had even took place. But I did notice the more I kind of opened my eyes and opened my ears, you would see stuff. And that's when I had my experience. We got another question cranked in here by Live Light. The fact that we are casually discussing UAPs here 30 years later is a form of disclosure. It is. How have your views on the life beyond changed?
I really don't think they've changed. You know, I was raised a Baptist, you know, like, so that,
which is a common thing in this part of the country.
I mean, it really didn't change anything. It's like, if I believe that, then why can't I believe that? Why can't I believe both? You know,
Absolutely.
Like, because one maybe contradicts the other or whatever in somebody else's opinion. You know, I don't want to get all like religious or philosophical or anything, you know, but everybody wants to bring up the fact that, you know, time and everything, like what we measure as time isn't the same as what maybe God measures time in, you know, like just because it was however many centuries ago then doesn't mean, you know, does that make sense? Like,
oh, absolutely. And I think, to me, I think all this is connected somehow. I think I don't necessarily, maybe, I don't know if they're from another planet, another dimension. People believe that, all time, the past, future, and the present all exist at the same time. There's a lot of deep thinking with this. But yeah, if you can believe, the religion, that you were brought up and the stories that you were told there, then why cannot these things be real? And I mean, last week, I believe the topic came up, was Jesus an alien?
right.
I mean, that topic came up, that question came up. Who knows? I mean, but I'm with you on that, dude. I think there's definitely more to this reality once we leave this world, and who knows?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think they're all connected, like you said. You know, just because you believe one thing doesn't mean, you know, you can't believe something else. Whether that person agrees or not, that's up to them. You know,
And if you guys do want to check out Lil Zondo's book, Imminent, I'm actually on the chapter right now where he runs into, he says, the Illuminati, and it's people who are shutting him down on his investigation, saying that, no, these are demons. Stay away from this. You don't want to, this isn't good. So, I mean, who knows? But we got to live with another question here. As an actor, have you ever had a fun sci-fi role, or is there a sci-fi role you would like to experience? I love this question. Let's hear that one.
I'm always game for anything sci-fi. I mean, especially if it was like Star Wars or something like that. You know, that would be a dream job. I actually got to work on a film that was never completed. It was called The Inducted, and it's a Tom Reed story. He actually had an episode on one of the seasons of Unsolved Mysteries about his UFO experience. And it was the first one that was recognized by the government or whatever. Like, they actually recognized his case, his UFO, like where he was abducted, him and his family. And it's like the first one in like the country that they actually like recognized as, you know, I guess they believe it, that it's fact or whatever. And that's it's on one of the seasons of Netflix, I believe. So anyway, we were working on that film, and I don't know what happened. Like, there was I guess a lot of tension between maybe him and the director or something like that. So they wound up scrapping it. and I want to think they're doing it again, but I think they're doing it in Kentucky with a completely new cast and crew and everything. But
Now, is
I
this
was,
the one? Is this the one where they had the shootout in Kentucky, or
no, this was something I think it happened in maybe Florida, something like that. But they were just filming it in Kentucky, I believe. But I
okay?
believe the name of it is called The Inducted, and that's what it's about, is it being inducted into,
And Jillian, I don't think it was a book. He's talking about a film, The Inducted, that he was a part of the first project. But now they what you said they wound up having to scrap. I'm sorry, Jillian. I'm sorry. That's right. Imminent is the name of the book. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. I apologize. Imminent by Lou Elizondo. You can there's an audio version of it, like on the streaming platforms, wherever you listen to music, if you're more of an audiobook person. Or you can actually check out the book. But I'm gonna be honest with you, it's interesting. And there's also a Ryan Stacy gives his review on it, I believe, at experiencersupport.org. So you could check it out there first. But so far I'm enjoying it. I'm just going to be honest with you. So far I'm really enjoying it. But the thing you're talking about, Les, that happened in Florida. Said you believe?
Not exactly. I can't remember. It's been a minute since I watched it, and it's been a few years since we were going to do it. But I was excited about it because he had this experience, and I had an experience as well, not as detailed as his by any means, but I'm a believer, so I was excited to be a part of it. Help him.
And Live Light is fast. She's over here. Induction 2019. I'm telling you, she's fast. She's like the young Jamie. I swear she's like on stuff here. I believe that's right, Liv. Induction 2019. So during this process, you've had 30 years to put this stuff together. And I know how that is. I know how it is to have an experience as a child. You kind of deal with it for a little bit, then you put it away, you live your life, and then you kind of come back to it as an adult. And, with everything that's kind of going on right now, like you said, with the hearings and UFOs, UAPs in the news, and it validates once again that, hey, I'm not crazy. This is a real thing. And this is like I said, the one of the whole points about this show. Nobody's crazy. You know what I mean? This is reality. This is sane stuff. People have experiences. So, I mean, that's why, kudos for you for coming on here and talking about it, because I know it's not something that you talk about every day. We do. We talk about this stuff every day, but, this isn't something that you talk about every day. So, I mean, I know kudos for you to come on a live streaming show and share your experience.
Thank you.
But now, I mean, so what do you think at this point, though? I do want to say this because I was thinking about this the other day, man. I was like, okay, if you know how people will say, well, come aliens don't land on the White House front lawn if they're real, And I mean, like, no, come on, man, get over that. No, nobody does that, But even if they did, if aliens landed in my front yard right now, when we get done with this podcast, if I look out there and there's aliens, I wouldn't be shocked. That's how crazy it is now, I mean,
like anytime, come on,
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, there you are. It's not scary to me anymore. It's so to me, I feel like I've already kind of been let in on it, like, oh, okay, you're real. And, we'll move on. You like magic tricks. So, I mean, boom,
off, once that's revealed, maybe,
Boy, I love this question right here. Okay, I love this question right here because I think this is something you most definitely should do, Les. Liv wants to know, have you ever thought to write your own sci-fi movie about your experience?
Not really, just because it's so short. I mean, it might make an interesting short, but I mean, I don't think it could be a feature by any means, because like I said, it happened maybe all of 10 minutes, something like that. So what are you going to have 40 minutes?
Well, I mean, but think about that, though. Think about that for a minute. That could be an awesome starting kickoff moment. You know what I mean? It could be, something, because of that experience, it may help you kick off that story, start off with a real event, but then take us down make believe, road. A lot of movies have done that before in the past. Something definitely to think about. I would watch it.
Yeah.
I think it would be a great movie to check out. So what would go ahead?
Or just maybe talking with other people that had similar experiences, maybe go to the
Maybe you could do a documentary, man.
Yeah.
Or if we could find out any information in that area, maybe there's other people that saw the same thing you did, and heck, man, get a film out about it. I think that would be great, because now there's definitely an audience for it. People are coming forward. So, yeah, who knows? I think it's a great idea. Great question, Liv. So let me ask you real quick. What do you think? What's your prediction? Do you think do you think it's going to be in the next 10 years? We're going to be walking around and acknowledging that, non-human biologics live among us?
I think maybe in the next 20 to 30 at the most, something like that. But yeah, it could be. Maybe they'll, speed it up, declassify it sooner than that. But I do think it's probably going to happen.
I do too. I think our kids will definitely see it. I would love to live long enough to see this, man. I think it'd be super cool. But who knows? Who knows? It's how long the process will take. Let's see. It looks like. Let's see. David Martin's got a question. Did you the movie Childhood's End? Did you do the movie Childhood's End? Were you in Childhood's End, Les?
No.
Okay. Another Les Murphy, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not familiar with that.
Gotcha. Not familiar with that one? Well, I'll tell you what, definitely let's do this before we get out of here because, like I said, this show does go by quick. We had a lot of fantastic questions for you, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. Liv, David, with some of your awesome questions. Jillian, you as well. The
ghost stories yet?
Oh yeah, we hadn't even touched the ghost stories, huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we got to get you back on. We got to get you back on, and we'll tell some of the ghost stories. But I tell you what, where can anywhere can people learn more about you, Les? Maybe IMBD, something like that. Check out.
I am BD and all that. I've got a couple of movies that are on Prime right now. One of them is The Gifted from Strange Film Studios by August Aguilar, and that stars Ginger Lynn and my friend Joe Casterline and Bing Fu, and it was an interesting movie because it was filmed here in Knoxville and in Philadelphia. So there was the team over there and then the team here. I had a small part in the movie called Last Night on Earth, and that's on Amazon as well. And I believe The Gifted is on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
And Tubi's got some fantastic stuff on it, guys. Really, it does. I've watched some great stuff on Tubi.
Works, so.
Well, awesome, man. So The Gifted, we could see Les Murphy in The Gifted, and what was the Last Night on Earth?
Last Night on Earth. I think my scene is in the last 10 minutes, something like that.
Okay.
As everything's going down.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, I haven't seen The Gifted yet, but I'm a fan of August's films, so I definitely need to check that out too. But definitely, man, we got to have you back on, and we'll hear some of the ghost stories. Like I said, I think all these things are connected: aliens, ghosts, even Bigfoot. So yeah, even Bigfoot. But yes, Liv, it's The Gifted and Last Night on Earth. You guys be sure to check out Les's movie. Show him some love there. You can check it out on Prime, Tubi, and I'm sure if you just give it a search, it'll pop up probably on several other streaming services as well.
Find that under Strange Films, I think, on YouTube, maybe something like
Strange Films on YouTube.
Them a like and everything, and follow them.
All right, man. And tell you what, Les, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. And we got to get you back on.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. First of all, thank you so much. David, Liv, Jillian, thank you guys so much for the awesome questions. This has, like I said, been a fun episode. I've always wanted to talk to Les a little more about his experience. If you guys have not done so, head over to Patreon at Heed the World. Show us some love. Make a little donation. That'll get you access to some really cool investigative articles done by Ryan Stacy. Also, if you have not done so yet, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it. Get the viewers. And keep in mind, next week, we are going live at 7 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. No longer 6 o'clock. We'll be moving to 7 p.m. So let folks know about that as well. If you guys haven't done so, show your boy some love. Show Danny some love. That's right. Give me a follow at Super Magic Boy on Instagram or Danny Whitson Magic and Comedy on Facebook. Yes, I am a comedian. I am a magician. I do that. I would love to see you guys come out to my shows. I travel all over the place. So you never know. And I always post my schedule to let you know kind of like what's going on these sites. So you can give me a follow at Super Magic Boy on Instagram or at Danny Whitson Magic and Comedy on Facebook. I would love to see you guys come out. I may be in your town sometime. And I also talk about the podcast. So yeah. Something that we have a little inside joke going on because not everybody knows. Not everybody knows that I host this podcast. Also, as I mentioned earlier about Les, I want to bring this back up that I'm really going to toss this out on Ryan Stacy's plate to see if he can't dig up a little more information about this incident that happened in 1994. Ryan has a magical way of digging these things up. So that would be very interesting as well. Let's see anything else. And oh yeah, if you can, check out the book, Lou Elizondo's Imminent. If you're an audio person like me, I like to listen to audiobooks. It's on Spotify. That's just a platform I happen to use, but maybe Apple. Check out some others. It's definitely worth a listen. Definitely, to kind of form your own opinion. Very interesting stuff. Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are fantastic. And like always, we are broadcasting live from the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM, the Gulf Coast, and 107.7 FM, New Orleans. This has been a blast. I will see you guys next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. Bye. All right, that does it for this episode of Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. A big shout out for tonight's awesome guest, and a bigger shout out for everyone who tuned in. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. And like always, be sure to stay curious, heed the world, and keep the paranormal normal. I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and this has been Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.